You are in the middle of a war-torn jungle in Vietnam. The air is filled with smoke, explosions, and the sound of enemy gunfire ripping through the trees. Soldiers around you are wounded. Some are trapped, unable to move without being hit. Every second feels like it could be your last. Most people in that moment would try to get away, to find cover, to survive. But one man did the opposite. Even after being shot, he kept moving forward, charging straight toward the enemy. Not because he was fearless, but because the men beside him needed him. His name was Santiago Jesus Erevia, and his courage that day would change lives, save soldiers, and make history even if the world didn't realize it right away. Santiago Erevia was born on December 15, 1945, in a small town in Texas and grew up in San Antonio. Like many young Americans, he answered the call to serve his country and joined the United States Army. He became part of the elite 101st Airborne Division, an airmobile unit sent into some of the most dangerous areas of the Vietnam War. Erevia was not famous. He wasn't a general or a politician. He was a regular soldier with extraordinary determination. During one brutal battle, he showed a level of bravery so powerful that it would later earn him the Medal of Honor, the highest military award in the United States. But it took more than 30 years for his heroism to be fully recognized. This is the story of a man who refused to give up, even when everything was against him. Standing in the middle of a burning jungle, the air thick with smoke and fear. The ground shakes from explosions. The sounds of machine guns and enemy rifles echo from every direction. You don't know where the next bullet will come from, only that it could come at any moment. Soldiers around you are wounded, calling for help. Some are pinned to the ground, unable to move because every attempt to rise is met with a storm of gunfire. In moments like this, survival becomes everything. Most people would crawl away, hide or freeze in terror. But on one day in Vietnam, one man did something very different. Even after being shot, he stood up and walked directly into danger. He didn't do it for glory. He didn't do it for medals. He did it because his fellow soldiers were in trouble, and someone had to act. That man was Santiago Jesus Erevia. His name might not be as famous as some war heroes, but what he did on that battlefield was just as powerful. He was wounded, bleeding, and surrounded by enemy fire, yet he continued to move forward. He faced fortified enemy bunkers that were cutting down American troops, and instead of backing away, he charged them. He knew he could die, but he went anyway. Because sometimes courage is not about being fearless, it is about being afraid and still doing what must be done. This is not a Hollywood story. This is not a myth. This is the true story of a soldier from Texas who stood against impossible odds. A man whose bravery was so extraordinary that decades later, the United States would finally recognize him with its highest honor. This is the story of Santiago Erevia, a soldier who refused to give up when everything was against him. Santiago Jesus Erevia was born on December 15, 1945, in Nordheim, Texas, and grew up in San Antonio. He was an ordinary young man from a hard-working family, raised with strong values of responsibility and respect. Like many young Americans of his generation, he came of age during the Vietnam War, a conflict that would change millions of lives forever. When Santiago joined the United States Army, he did not know that he would one day become a hero. He simply knew that he had a duty to serve. Erevia became part of the 101st Airborne Division, one of the most elite fighting units in the U.S. Army. This division was known for its airmobile operations, meaning soldiers were flown by helicopter into dangerous combat zones. These missions were some of the most risky in the entire war. The men of the 101st Airborne were sent into thick jungles, enemy-controlled areas, and deadly ambushes. Santiago was assigned to the 1st Battalion, where he served as a rifleman and later a machine gunner, one of the most dangerous roles in combat. Life in Vietnam was harsh. Soldiers faced heat, rain, disease, exhaustion, and constant danger. The enemy was often hidden, using tunnels, bunkers, and thick jungle cover. Every patrol could turn into a deadly firefight. Yet through all of this, Erevia kept doing his job. He was known as someone who did not back down, someone who could be counted on when things became difficult. One day, during a brutal battle, Erevia would show a level of courage that went far beyond what was expected of any soldier. His actions would save lives, stop an enemy assault, and change the outcome of the fight. But strangely, the full recognition of his bravery would take more than 30 years. His story is not just about war, it is about courage, sacrifice, and justice. During a fierce battle in Vietnam, Santiago Erevia and his unit were advancing when they suddenly came under intense enemy fire. North Vietnamese forces had set up multiple fortified bunkers, hidden in the jungle, and they were firing directly at the American troops. The gunfire was so heavy that Erevia's unit was pinned down. Soldiers could not move forward or backward without being shot. Several men were already wounded, and the situation was quickly becoming deadly. Erevia was a machine gunner, responsible for providing cover fire for his fellow soldiers. As bullets flew around him, he realized that the only way to save his unit was to destroy the enemy bunkers. Even after being wounded by enemy fire, he refused to stop fighting. Instead of retreating, he picked up his weapon and moved forward alone. One by one, Erevia attacked the enemy positions. He walked into intense gunfire, knowing that every step could be his last. Despite his injuries, he continued pushing forward, firing his weapon and throwing grenades into the bunkers. He destroyed multiple enemy positions, eliminating the threat that had trapped his unit. His actions allowed his fellow soldiers to move forward and regain control of the battlefield. Because of Erevia's bravery, many lives were saved. The enemy assault was broken. What he did that day was nothing short of extraordinary. He was originally awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest award for bravery. But later, a review of awards revealed that his actions deserved the Medal of Honor. In 2002, more than 3 decades after the battle, his award was officially upgraded. Santiago Erevia never fought for recognition. He never fought for medals. He fought because his brothers in arms were in danger, and he refused to abandon them. When the enemy fire was at its worst, when most people would have stayed down, he stood up and moved forward. That is the kind of courage that defines a true hero. In 2002, the United States Congress ordered a review of military awards, especially for minority soldiers who may not have received full recognition in the past. During this review, Santiago Erevia's Distinguished Service Cross was upgraded to the Medal of Honor. It was a long overdue acknowledgement of what he had done so many years earlier in the jungles of Vietnam. Today, his name stands alongside the greatest heroes in American history. But beyond medals and ceremonies, what truly matters is what he did when it counted. He chose courage over fear. He chose action over hesitation. He chose to protect others even at the risk of his own life. Santiago Erevia's story reminds us that heroism is not about being famous or powerful. It is about doing the right thing when it is hardest to do. His bravery continues to inspire people around the world, showing us that even in the darkest moments, one person can make a difference.